Hi friends, welcome back. This is Sloan Academy, and in this video we'll be discussing IFVG, full meaning inverse fair value gap. Okay, this video was inspired by one of our friends on YouTube. Okay, he made a comment that he needs a video on inverse fair value gap. Alright, so for his sake now, we are now creating a very detailed explanation and a very detailed example now, even the textbook diagram and then the chart examples now of an inverse fair value gap. All right, so without wasting much of our time, I think we'll just get down into it. But before then, if you're new here or you have viewed some of our videos and you're just getting to like what we're doing, you can just subscribe, like, comment, and do share the video. Okay, if you have something you want us to discuss, maybe a topic or a concept that you don't really understand, you can leave it for us in any of the comment sections, and then we will get deeply into it, explaining it to your basic understanding. All right, so without wasting much time, I think we will start. Okay, so before we know what an inverse fair value gap is, I think it's better we refer back to what the fair value gap is. Okay, so for clarity purposes now, just be doing a quick review of the fair value gap, although we discussed it in the previous videos, but let's just review it a bit now, and then we can then dive deep into what an inverse fair value gap is. Okay, so what is our fair value gap now? If you remember correctly, a fair value gap is characterized by 3 candles where there is a gap in between the wicks of the first and the third candle. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to use an uptrend candle, a buy candles to make this explanation. All right, so this is our first and this is our second, and then this is our third. Okay, and then right on top you now have the wicks. The wicks now they now give us the appropriate fair value gap. Yeah, so now this is our fair value gap, and then this is a gap right here. I'm using a gam box. The gam box now helps demarcate or separate the gap now into two. Basically, you can get the 50%, the 100%, and the 0%. So basically now what the market usually comes to do is validate this other block by coming back into the 50%, which is the consequent encroachment of the fair value gap, and then moves. So this is the usual thing a fair value gap would do. But then what will an inverse fair value gap do? Okay, so having understood now the concept, or having been reminded of what the concept of fair value gap is, let's now look into what an inverse fair value gap is. Okay, right, so I'll be deleting this, then I'll be leaving this example because I'll use it to explain. All right, so this is our fair value gap, we already know. And then if you remember correctly, when we discussed breaker blocks are something like this, but then it's for a demand zone right here, and then probably, all right, let me redraw this, my apologies, for an uptrend, something like this now. Then probably this is supposed to be the other block now that validates the next move up, all right here. But then you see something that the market now broke through it and then tested on that particular other block right here, and then kept going down. So basically the exact concept now used in a breaker block is what is used in an IFVG. Okay, in the sense that we have an imbalance right here, and then normal market conditions is supposed to be bounce into it and then bounce off. Okay, but this is not what the market did now. Rather, the market decided to invalidate the whole gap. All right, took out every single thing in between, close below, mitigate the 50% zone, and then keep going. You get this now? Okay, meaning that more like this is now a reverse. Now this is now a is a split of the exact same thing of the thing it's supposed to do. It's now the opposite of what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to top up here, keep going up, right? But then it did not do that. I'll come again. An inverse fair value gap is a condition or a situation in the market where probably it left an imbalanced fair value gap. But then while the market was coming down, it didn't look to validate that particular fair value gap to continue its move upside. Rather, it broke through the fair value gap, closing below the gap, then coming back into that same gap now to now validate it now, and then keep going down. Okay. Now, this can actually be characterized or seen when there is a change in market structure, or even when there is a continuation in the market. It can actually happen. Maybe market now is now looking forward to a demand zone below, that it had to do this type of stuff now so that it can get back to that demand zone and then keep going. All right. So basically now this is the textbook diagram. Now I've actually searched a couple of pairs, and I have seen a very clear example of this IFVG on just one, which is the AED and for the sake of this video, I think we'll just be discussing just this one. Okay. Hopefully, if I see another example, I might do a quick video on it so that we don't get confused about it. All right. So getting down to the charts now, AUD card, AUD USD 12 time frame. Right. So this right here was our fair value gap. Removing this now. Okay, let's leave it there. Removing this now. So we can actually say from here that we have a fair value gap right here. Yeah. And then as it stands now, the market actually broke structure to the downside here. So what we should be expecting now is a move like this. It returns back into that fair value gap and then a continuation to the downside. But that's not what happened eventually. Now look at what happened. Instead of seeing this move now, this retest and continuation to the downside, market decided to wipe clean the whole thing. You see, even came back impulsively to it. Decided to wipe clean the whole thing. Move a bit up now. Came back into that fair value gap. You get it now? Came back into this fair value gap now that it did not validate, and then moved again, and also came back to maybe mitigate this zone here, this demand zone here, and then there is a further push to the upside. So basically now, as I said before, this can be characterized when there is a shift in market structure, when there is a change of character. Okay, so this was the last low that created this break of structure, and then when this happened now turned into a change of character, where the market just shifted from a downtrend to an uptrend. Yeah, so basically now it's an inverse fair value gap and we are now on an uptrend. All right, I think I can still find some examples, but I've searched a couple of pairs, not seeing any examples. Actually discouraging. Now one thing I must say is this IFVG is not actually an A plus setup, because you rarely see it in the charts. All right, the traditional one you will always see is the fair value gap. That's the traditional one you'll always see. But then this IFVG, you rarely actually do see it. Okay, so even if you see it, I believe this video now will now tell you what you need to do when you see an IFVG and how to trade it. Okay, now I'll go back to the textbook diagram again, just to re-emphasize on what I've said before. When you see something like this and there is a fair value gap in between, and then the market breaks that fair value gap paraventure and then tests back into it, then keeps going. Okay, trying to stop this, so it's not stopping. Yeah, finally. Okay, so here is the fair value gap. Right. I just hope you understand with these examples. It's not actually a very difficult concept. You can actually go and backtest and then you find almost all these stuff. But then in a condition where you don't really see them more often, means that it's not very common on the charts. It's not very common on the charts, and you can basically find it on some other pairs. Alright, so I think at this juncture we're going to be calling it a stop. Okay. Basically you can look into these things in your own free time, and then if you find anything confusing, please do leave us a comment so we can re-explain, and then like, subscribe, and do not forget to share. Thank you.